following program is brought to you in living color on NBC.
In case you're ever asked, a prairie oyster is highly overrated as a hangover cure. Ugh. Oh. I think I pass. Take me home.
Paula, sweetheart, you promised me no tricks. You said yourself you were desperate for the money. You'd do anything to get the part.
Well, there are limits. Why did Kevin Grant have to have this ridiculous ceremony anyway?
Oh, now, Paula.
Why doesn't he just mail the contracts to you like always?
Maybe he was out of stamps. Don't forget, Booble, the studio hasn't signed anything yet. And they won't until the contracts are sent up from Grant's office with your signature.
How do I look?
Only sensational. I don't know how you do it.
Clean living. There. That makes it official. I'm yours to command.
Mr. Grant, are you taking that as a promise or a challenge?
Both. The promise of Miss Shannon's cooperation and the challenge of making a picture worthy of her talent.
Thank you. You know, the first picture I ever made was on the Century lot.
And for David Caldwell.
King David. He was quite a man.
He still is. The movie industry owes him a great debt. It's a shame we haven't acknowledged it until now.
Miss Shannon, will you be at the testimonial dinner tomorrow night?
Or are you still keeping that old feud going?
Hey, fellas, come on. That happened a long time ago.
Mr. Grant is quite right. Of course I'll be there.
As master of ceremonies, may I say that I'm delighted.
You might even call on me to say a few words.
Great. Gentlemen, a toast to the star of my movie, a lady who pays her debts.
A lady who pays her debts. My creditors would be glad to hear that.
Paula, you didn't really mean it. You're not actually going to be at that party.
Baby, I wouldn't miss it for anything. Wild horses couldn't keep me away.
I'm having my lunch.
Dad, it's Sylvia.
Oh, hi. Come in, come in.
Hi.
Hi. I thought you were that gin rummy fiend from the next cottage.
Why don't you take him on?
Not for matches.
I used to believe you'd mellow with age.
Playing hooky from the studio?
Not hooky, just delivery boy. Gotta get right back, though. My phone started ringing at 9 a.m. and haven't stopped.
The Kevin Grant picture?
Among other things.
Getting a lot of comment in the trades.
That magic name, Paula Shannon.
Yeah, she's still box office.
And the worst headache in Hollywood.
I was thinking about the time she came bursting into the Brown Derby, tore up her contract, and threw the pieces in my Caesar salad.
I haven't forgotten.
But I held her to it. And made her a star.
Aren't you curious about what I brought you to wear for your testimonial dinner?
Oh, very elegant. I'll look like a dress extra.
Not seated in the place of honor, you won't.
Who have you got sitting next to me?
Well, nobody yet. Every executive on the lot's been phoning, thinking he should have the privilege. Terrific spot for a secretary to be in.
You know, I think I would like a nice, young, juicy starlet for my dinner partner.
I'll see what I can do. I've
Good.
got to run. Take care, Dad.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't foresee any problems, except for coming up with a brilliant piece of casting for Eddie Graham.
It's a tough part. A guy whose physical courage is all a cover-up for his own weaknesses. He can face everything but himself.
You've really done your homework on this script.
Surprised?
A lot of actresses don't look into the other parts that deeply.
I is the skim-through type. They never read anything except their own lines. You figured me for one of those, did you?
I don't think anyone really has you figured. Your trailer's over there. I'm gonna start the first day's work here. I'm still not satisfied. I'm gonna have to work something out.
You know, I love it all. I'm a real buff. From the phony snow to the phony people. I love that, too. Hoo-ha.
Yum. You really thought of everything, haven't you?
We tried to.
Really? It's all so gorgeously gorgeous, I hardly know what to say. But, a few suggestions?
Far away?
Well, first of all, I need a bigger reading lamp and a larger armchair. I do have an occasional male guest. And a couple of extra ashtrays.
No problem.
Something in the way of a bar. For my guests.
Anything else?
Not at the moment.
It will be taken care of by the time you get out of wardrobe tomorrow morning.
You did say morning.
Mm-hmm. You have a costume fitting at 10 a.m.
You couldn't make that early afternoonish, could you?
Ooh, a pretty tight schedule.
Well, it's just that I'll probably be a shambles. You know, after being up late tonight for the big bash for King David and all.
I'll see what I can do.
Well, they're really doing this up in style, aren't they? Kevin, thanks for the tour.
It was my pleasure. By the way, Sylvia Caldwell wants you to stop by before you leave.
Sylvia?
Yeah.
How nice.
I'll walk you over myself, but I got a couple of Eddie Grahams and their agents waiting in my office. I'll see you tonight at the dinner.
If I get any wild ideas for the part, I'll let you know.
Paula. It's good to see you again. I wanted to welcome you personally.
In memory of old time.
I know we've had our difficulties, Paula, but that's all in the past. Too many years ago to be worth remembering. Can't we let bygones be bygones?
I'm glad you feel that way.
I mean it sincerely. I hope your working here can be a happy experience for all of us.
Then, there's no major hitch in my contract. Well, when they said you wanted to see me, I...
Oh, no, nothing about your contracts. They're already signed on the way to your agent.
Then it's all legal and binding. And I'm back where I began. This room does have its memories, doesn't it? You know, I almost feel like I could walk right through this door and come face to face with your father. He used to sit right over there and growl. You know, I was really shocked to read his ad in the trade papers.
Really?
Yes. I couldn't believe it. The former head of this studio, having to beg for an interview.
He was hardly begging.
Well, perhaps I used the wrong word. But still, what good did it do him? I mean, 8 years later, he was in the motion picture country house. That must have been a terrible blow to his pride.
At least the industry takes care of its own. Could happen to any of us.
Oh, no, not the way it happened to King David. His exit was really unique. I mean, he went out Julius Caesar time. He was stabbed in the back by those closest to him. You know it. The whole industry knows it. Of course, he always did live by the sword. Too bad your Johnny Bracken wasn't around to defend him.
That time, he didn't have the position. And by the time he did, Dad already had the stroke.
See that chair? It's been recovered, but that's the same chair. I sat there one morning and cried my eyes out.
Did you get the part?
I don't remember. Did I tell you that Kevin thought it would be a grand idea for me to attend the testimonial dinner?
Oh, Kevin invited you.
Well, at first I thought of making some excuse, but he said practically the same thing you did, almost the same words. You know about all that being a long time ago.
Paula.
I just wanted you to know. I'm really looking forward to it.
Rachel Holt, huh?
That's H-O-L-T, an easy name to remember, Mr. Caldwell.
And a hard face to forget. It's like my daughter really outdid herself.
Georgia.
Hello, darling. You look utterly wonderful.
So do you. You must be between husbands.
Oh, darling, what a wonderful imitation. You must be between lovers.
But not for long. Darling.
I'm sure you've all heard producers complain of having to cut corners, of shooting on a skin-tight budget. In fact, some of you have even heard it from me. Well, imagine yourself traveling around the country from theater owner to theater owner with a couple of cans of film under each arm, trying to raise enough money to finish the picture. David Caldwell did that.
So you started as a traveling
He not
salesman.
only
I should have
kept
known.
Century Pictures alive, he built it into one of the giants of the motion picture industry. I am not exaggerating when I say that none of us would be here tonight, except for men of the stature, the vision, the courage of our guest of honor, David Caldwell. John Bracken wanted very much to be here tonight. However, certain negotiations in our foreign market caused him to cancel his plans at the last moment and remain in Paris. However, I do have a surprise for all of you. Paris?
You're not eating your dessert.
Bon.
I usually have a writer for dessert.
And a producer with your brandy?
No, with that I prefer a beautiful young lady.
Merci.
My friends, my associates, and above all, David, my beloved old mentor. Forgive me for not being with you. I am there, very much in spirit. And I'm grateful that we're given this opportunity to honor David Caldwell. Those who were privileged to work with him, including myself, got into the habit of referring to him as King David. The words were and still are an acknowledgement of his unique abilities. True greatness needs no praise. It stands on its own merit. What more can I say but God bless you and keep you always, King David.
Boy, I bet you were really something.
Why don't we talk about it over a brandy?
Your place or mine?
You'd be surprised if someday I show up without my wheelchair.
And now another surprise. A few words from a very lovely lady. One of the many stars who owe their rise to David Caldwell. Rumor has it that they have not always seen eye to eye in the past. But the lady now sees things with a different perspective. I give you Miss Paula Shannon.
Thank you. There's so much. How do I begin to tell you all that I owe to David Caldwell? Do I tell you about the time he discovered me in a chorus line tryout for one of his musicals? Or a week later, when he signed me to my first contract? Or the morning after the premiere of my first picture, Bright Fortune, when he showed me the reviews and said, "You're a star now, Paula. Try to behave like one." If I were asked the greatest single influence in my life, I would have to say David Caldwell. But we're slow to pay these debts, sometimes even when payment is demanded. Many of you remember an ad in the trade papers 10 years back. For those of you who don't, it was an open letter to all of us in the industry from the man we honor here tonight. King David was tired of being pushed in the background and forgotten. He thought that if he reminded us that he needed a job, a dozen grateful executives would spring to his aid. So he swallowed his pride and extended his hand. And what did we warm-hearted show folk do? We ignored him until tonight. Until we suddenly realized that if we were going to throw a few bouquets at the old man, we'd better do it quick, or they'd have to be funeral wreaths.
Same old Paula.
We've heard some touching generalities tonight. I'd prefer to be a bit more specific. Get right down to the nitty-gritty, as they say. So I'd like to thank David Caldwell for his brilliant management of my early career, and for an unbreakable contract that forced me to appear in some of the worst formula pictures that ever made a buck at the box office. I also wish to thank him for ruining my health with reducing pills. For driving me to the edge of a nervous collapse with his constant, incessant, relentless criticism.
That's a lie.
For deliberately destroying my first marriage.
Another lie. Nice performance.
And for the 4 bad marriages that followed.
Oh, you're blaming me for what you did to yourself. You never could face yourself realistically.
Dad. Everything I am today I owe to David Caldwell. Which is why I'm so happy to be here tonight.
Here, Dad, let me.
I got it. Well, it's too bad it had to happen.
Too bad. When she ruined your entire evening?
Maybe we're lucky she didn't season my fillet with arsenic. I've known how Paula felt about me for a long time. It hardly came as any surprise. And certainly less than anything to be taken seriously.
Oh, but you...
But I what? Defended myself? Reflex action.
I know you very well. And I know you're working very, very hard at controlling yourself. Why don't you just let it all out?
Sylvia, I don't want to argue with you. But for the record, I would rather remain forgotten than remembered as an object of pity. Now, with that, can we close the discussion?
Yes, Dad. I guess Mr. Bracken was right when he said that real accomplishment speaks for itself.
What accomplishments? You moldy cans of forgotten film?
There is no talking to you tonight.
Well, then don't.
Dad, can I get you something? A nice warm glass of milk.
Or a dish of pablum. Don't baby me, Sylvia. You insult my intelligence. Stop hovering over me. It's time by now you cut the strings. Be better for both of us.
I don't understand.
You had some fantasy that this dinner would bring back my public image. Well, it failed. Now, what's next? A vendetta against Paula Shannon?
What are you telling me? Did you expect me to let her get away with it?
Just do your job. You're Bracken's executive secretary, not my knight in shining armor. Just live your life and let me live mine. And stay away from Paula Shannon. She'll destroy herself. She's been working at it for years.
Dad.
Look, will you please go and let me get some sleep? I am very tired.
I knew this would probably be a good day to get stabbed in the back, but I never thought it'd be with a pin. Well, this thing ought to come with a lame parachute. And maybe an itty-bitty mink helmet with a rhinestone clasp. Silent Sam. Well, it's a relief. Generally, they talk your ear off. You're angry, right?
You owe my father an apology, Paula.
Your father knows the truth in every word I said.
You can't really believe that. But if you do, you're sick.
I'll take it up with my psychiatrist.
What possible satisfaction could you get out of hurting him like that?
It's known as evening the score, Sylvia. Let's face it, your father wasn't an easy man to work for. King David.
He demanded more of himself than of anyone else.
You have such a beautiful, blind loyalty. You can't even see what he's done to your life. for Sylvia. Carrying on in the Caldwell tradition. And what'll it do for you in the end? Get you a cottage for one at the Motion Picture Country House?
Why don't you let me worry about that?
You do that, Sylvia. Give my regards to Kevin. The signed contracts came in the mail this morning. So don't try to get me fired. If you do, I promise I'll sue Bracken and Century Pictures for everything they've got.
Hello, Kevin.
Hi. Sylvia, I'm sorry. If I'd had any idea that Paula would have pulled such a rotten stunt.
You couldn't have known when you invited her.
Well, I didn't invite her. She invited herself. In front of a room full of reporters and then capped that all by volunteering to speak at the dinner.
Well, it's over and done with. Forget it.
No way. Not until I give myself the satisfaction of telling Miss Shannon that as of today, she is eligible for unemployment.
Oh, you can't fire her.
Why not? Because of the contract? We'll have to make some sort of settlement, but it'll be worth it just to be rid of her.
I wasn't thinking of the contract. You said yourself Paula's perfect for the part.
A part can always be rewritten.
Oh, this is business, Kevin. We can't let our feelings get in the way.
Oh, what about your father?
My father'd be the first one to understand. If he were here now, he'd tell you to forget what happened at the party and go right ahead and make your picture. And don't go looking for another Paula. One's enough.
Is there something you wanted?
I can see how your legs got to be so famous.
You saw a lot more than my legs. And don't tell me you weren't looking.
Oh, I've been looking ever since the first time we met.
We haven't.
Yesterday, in front of the stage, you were talking with Kevin Grant. You saw me. You knew I was there.
Do you mind if I get dressed?
And then last night, at the dinner, you looked right at me.
Now, that's an old lecturer's trick. You look around while you're talking. You pick out a face in the audience.
Someone you'd like to know. My name is Tom. Tom Hudson.
And you're an actor. One of the contract kids. You have the look.
You know, last night, when you stood up to make your speech, I said to myself right away, I said, Tom, something's going to happen.
Did you?
Baby, I can read you like a book.
Then you must have come to the page where it says I won't get you the part of Eddie Graham in my picture. However, that page could be rewritten. Why don't you run along now? And when you come back, bring a bottle of bourbon. What's the matter, Silent Sam? Isn't there anything you don't disapprove of?
Yeah, right. Well, I only have one reservation. I'm still not too sure how he's going to photograph. Oh, just the opposite. He might look a little too clean-cut.
I found your Eddie Graham.
Well, so have I. Look, I tell you what we'll do, Jack. You bring him over here tomorrow morning and we'll shoot a test. Make it about 9 a.m. Yeah, all right, I'll see you then. Bye-bye. I was just talking to his agent.
He's right here on the lot. One of your own contract players. His name is Tom Hudson.
No, it isn't. The actor playing Eddie Graham is named Robin Boyd.
Boyd's wrong. He'll give you all the charm and none of the menace.
He's a good actor.
With a nice open face and a personality to match. Nobody will ever believe he's got a hang-up about older women.
Paula, you're not listening to me. I said Robin Boyd is a good actor. He'll play the relationship on film.
Which is where the relationship belongs?
Lady, my business is film. That's all I know and all I care to know.
Mm-hmm. Paula disgraced herself at the dinner, so Tom Hudson doesn't get the part. Is that it?
Nope.
Oh, come on.
But my only concern is he right for the role?
That's my only concern, too.
I mean it.
And I mean it, too. Look, let's be honest. I'd already be out on my ear if you thought you could replace me with anybody better, but you can't. The part of Jenny could have been written for me. And it'll give a big lift to my career.
If you can live down your latest publicity. Wells, Toby Wells on the tube this morning. Did you manage to catch it?
I happen to be a Farm Report fan myself.
Well, I quote, "Has Hollywood finally had its fill of Paula Shannon? After her ugly antics at the testimonial dinner for much-maligned film pioneer David Caldwell, rumor has it that her present role may be her last in any picture."
Why don't you let me worry about the rumors? Just believe that if Tom Hudson wasn't right for that part, I wouldn't have him.
That decision is my affair, not yours.
Then make it on the basis of his ability as an actor, not on what you think might be going on. That's my affair. Give me a toast.
To Paula and Tom. A couple of great kids.
I like that, Tom.
Call me Ed. Edward Graham. You know, I'll never be able to thank you enough.
This is my party. How about a nightcap?
Oh, we just had one.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's going to have to be quick because we both have an early call tomorrow. You really live good, Paula.
At the moment, I'm on an economy kick.
Oh, yeah.
I never spend more than twice of what I earn. Bourbon's over there. Glasses.
Well, bourbon does seem to be your drink.
What a shrewd observation. Touchy?
Why do you always fire at people's heads?
Because they usually make such a beautiful tart.
And the chicks that do it are basically insecure.
You're not pouring my drink.
Now, what would you have to be insecure about?
Stop trying to psychoanalyze me and sit down.
What shall we toast to this time?
I like the last toast. To Paula and Tom, a couple of great kids.
Yeah, we're going to make a great team. And Kevin Grant, he's not going to be sorry he took your advice.
Eddie Graham is in 32 pages out of a 143-page script.
And he's also got 4 scenes.
Only one big one.
Well, Paula, I intend to make the most out of that one.
We didn't come here to talk shop. Fix me another.
Okay. Then I'm going to have to leave.
What's the matter? Got a late day?
Do you know what time it is?
No.
You have to be in makeup at 6 a.m. Pleasant dreams.
Haven't you learned yet? You don't get anything for free.
Could you get me a cup of coffee?
One of the grips had a thought, starting a pool on what time she gets here. Well, at least it might keep the crew interested.
Well, I guess I asked for it when I hired her.
Good morning.
11:15 for a 7 a.m. call. And that's the 3rd time this week.
You said you spoke to her.
Of course I spoke to her. I was trying to preserve a good director-star relationship. Maybe it's time I yelled at her.
What do you mean that's her costume? I suppose you think it's great. Well, let me tell you something. I don't. She's supposed to be the kid next door, not a stripper in a burlesque show.
Paula, in the scene, she's just come in from beside the swimming pool.
She's been sunbathing.
And if you wanted to give her the scene, why didn't you have her just come in stark naked?
I volunteered.
I'll bet you did. You're very sure of yourself.
Yes, I am.
Much too sure. Unless you've been doing a little late-night modeling of that so-called costume for the producer.
I think that's enough.
Not by at least a yard of fabric. That's the problem.
And you've got a hangover. That's your problem.
Get rid of that man. I don't want to see him when I come back from lunch.
If I get rid of it, I've had it with you. Your unprofessional behavior, your being 3-4 hours late for every early call that you have.
Don't give me a later call.
You're costing me time and money. You're destroying the morale of my company. From now on, Paula, you'll be here right on the dot. Is that clear?
You know what you sound like, Kevin? The messenger boy you probably were a couple of years ago.
I asked you, is it clear what I said?
Sylvia's been working on you.
I was ready to unload you 30 seconds after you did your hatchet job on David Caldwell. It was Sylvia who talked me out of it.
Because she knows you can't do this picture without me. Don't try to bluff. I've worked with real producers. The biggest in the business.
Like David Caldwell?
All right, kill it. You have a simple choice, Paul. Toe the line or get out.
This coffee tastes like something left over from the flood.
Hmm?
I said this coffee tastes like something left over from the flood.
Tell the waitress to get you some tea.
Why so talkative?
Paula, we have to shoot the scene right after lunch.
Ah, yes, the big one. Your instant ticket to fame and fortune and stardom. That is, if you don't overstudy and fall flat on your face.
Okay, we talk.
You were supposed to come to the hotel last night. What happened?
This is number one. Number two, I didn't want to keep you up late last night. Number three, I don't want to ruin your perfect score. You've been on time every day this week.
What do I get for it?
Ooh, a gold star in your attendance chart.
That wasn't exactly what I had in mind.
And you get not to be fired.
Do you really think I believe all that guff that Kevin was handing out?
I'd take 5.
5?
The Fifth Amendment. Old Chinese proverbs say, lady who spit into the wind, get it right back in her face. And don't try to out nonchalant me, Paula. That little thump that I keep hearing is you towing the mark.
Tom?
Hi, Rachel.
That's where you were last night, out playing with the kiddies.
Well, if I was, that is if, it wouldn't be any of your business.
Just make sure you remember what your business is. Oh, Sylvia. Seen the dailies?
Yes.
How do they look?
They were good. You're a fine actress.
Thank you. When it comes to my work, I know exactly where I stand. But when it comes to the men in my life, I've always been a dreamer. None of them have ever been worth the sand to pound into a rat hole.
Scene 39, Charlie, take 3.
Action!
What did you do with her, Eddie?
With whom?
Your last great and good friend, Mrs. Archer.
I told you we parted with no hard feelings. She went her way, I went mine.
Where?
Here to Los Angeles?
No, I mean Mrs. Archer. Did she scream, Eddie? Did she put up a fight?
Well, she Well, I don't know. I never wrote her. I'm sorry.
Cut it.
What is this, amateur hour?
Oh, you jumped the line.
No strain. We
So
do it again.
what? I jump, you jump with me. Or is that the only way you can recite a scene, by taking it all in a wad like the Pledge of Allegiance?
Well, your wobbling all over the set doesn't help me very much.
You're supposed to play the scene, infant, not walk through it like a wooden dummy. That means maybe having a little emotion. Maybe even taking 2 steps to the right instead of 1. Now, I know that's not what they teach you in acting class, but it's known as being a pro.
Paula.
I'm sorry. I lost my temper. Look, sweetie, maybe you need a little more work. You know, to loosen you up,
Well, would you like me to stop over tonight?
if you like.
I have more important things that I'm going to do this evening.
More important than your career? Look, you saw this as your first big break. You knew the price. You let me think you were willing to pay it.
Sometimes, baby, the price is too much to pay.
Let him go.
Tom. Wait up, Tom. Tom, wait a minute.
Listen, I've had it.
Come on back, Tom. Now, I want you back, do you understand? I know how you feel. All I'm saying is don't let her get to you.
Anything wrong?
Sylvia, I'm walking off this picture. I guess that'll wash me up on the lot, huh?
What is it, Paula?
Whatever.
Paula needled him into blowing a take, and then she jumped all over him.
Look, anything I got, I ask for.
Tom, you only have 1 week left to finish shooting. Don't do it. Look, stick around a little while, will you?
Come in. As far as I'm concerned, you can replace Tom Hudson in 5 minutes.
But we'd have to reshoot all his footage.
So I don't see the problem.
Paul, it does present a
You
big
didn't come
problem.
here to talk about Tom Hudson anyway.
Well, I'm here to protect the studio's interests. We are making a film.
You came here to get back at me for your father.
Paula, I've deliberately stayed away.
Just waiting for an excuse. Just sitting up there in your office, doing a slow burn over dear old Dad and wishing you could suck it to me.
All right. You want to talk about my father? Then let's get the record straight.
Ah, here it comes.
The only thing you can blame my father for is that he gave you too much too soon. Stardom, fame, fortune. You weren't ready for it, Paula. You couldn't handle it.
Go ahead, get it off your chest.
You had to be the center of everything, at any cost. Who really broke up your first marriage? After the elopement, the headlines, and all the talk around town? You were bored to death. You couldn't wait to get out of it. You accuse my father of ruining your health with reducing pills? You were just as greedy and undisciplined then as you are now. You knew you couldn't go before the cameras 30 pounds overweight, but you always waited till the last minute to start dieting, then wheedled pills out of a doctor without my father's knowledge or consent. It was all his fault!
Night after night, I left that office crying my eyes out. Always criticizing, always lecturing me.
Well, you couldn't have been listening very carefully. Or you might have taken a good, realistic look at yourself. Which is, as my father said, something you've never done. It was so much easier to drug your mind with liquor and pills. And you always had the perfect excuse. You couldn't help yourself. You'd fallen under the wicked thumb of David Caldwell at the tender age of 17. He was the cause of everything. Up to and including Tom Hudson, I assume. You know, they say something about when you've been forgotten by your friends, you may be lucky enough to have an enemy left to remember you. You may be even luckier than my father. You've made quite a few.
Oh, the pills. Don't take the pills.
Sometimes, baby, the price is too much to pay. Sometimes,
ready
baby,
to unload you
the
30
price is
seconds
too
after
much
you
to
did your
pay.
hatchet job on David Caldwell. It was Sylvia's ready to unload you 30 seconds after you did your hatchet job on David
By your
Caldwell.
friends. You may be lucky
It was
an
Sylvia.
enemy left to remember. You've made quite a few.
Don't take the
And you've
pills.
been forgotten by your friends.
The price is too much to pay.
You may be
It was
lucky enough
Sylvia.
to have an enemy left to remember. You may be lucky enough to have an enemy left to remember. 15-2, and a pair is 4. Another pair. You're skunked again.
Well, you don't have to crow about it. And I'm not so sure that beating me at cribbage is what put you in such a good mood. How's the Kevin Grant picture coming?
You won't believe it. Tom Hudson finished the picture today without one smidgen of trouble from Paula, who incidentally was on time every day.
I don't believe it.
I told you wouldn't.
And I have a hunch that you didn't take my advice. To stay away from Paula Shannon as far as possible.
Well, it all worked out, didn't it?
So you won a victory. Well, those things don't come cheaply. This is a business of cannibal egos, Sylvia. Perhaps it's best to get out before they devour you. Who is it? Who is it?
I just happened to be in the neighborhood. At the front office, dropping off a check for $20,000.
From you?
Mm-hmm. Pay to the order of the Motion Picture Country House, Paula Shannon. For the fund. For the David Caldwell wing.
I wasn't aware there was such a fund.
There is now.
That's a lot of money, Paula.
You think you can afford it?
That's a beautiful question to ask me, David. When in my whole life did I ever do anything I could afford?
Paula. Paula. Always the grand gesture. First the tearing up of the contract, throwing the pieces in the salad. Then the speech for the prosecution at the testimonial dinner. And now this. With a stack of unpaid bills, I imagine.
A small mountain. But don't get the wrong idea. I just need some favorable publicity for a change. I'll send you my clippings.
The David Caldwell wing.
What do you think? Was it conscience, or did she really do it for the publicity?
Knowing Paula, it could be both. In a town where they ignore a man for 15 years and give awards for slipped discs rather than performances, this could cause a tidal wave of sentimentality. Practically grounds for canonization.
Well, Paula's shrewd enough to know she'll get work out of this, gesture of atonement or otherwise.
So, I don't grudge it to her.
It can be a rough business.
Sylvia, what about you? Can you take it and still be happy?
I love my life. It's exactly what I want. I wouldn't change a minute of it.